one of the major ways now that people are being stopped for drink or drug driving is what's known as a mandatory intoxilizer checkpoint. And these things are set up at specific places, at specific times, on specific dates. Guards are given permission in writing from an inspector, and the inspector will say that on this date, in this place, between the hours of 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. or whatever it is, I want a checkpoint set up. And so once they have that authorization from an inspector to set up a checkpoint, they're authorized to stop and get anybody to give a sample of their saliva, whether or not they think that person is intoxicated or otherwise. You could be perfectly fine, but they can ask you to provide a specimen of your saliva using a device that they give you, and you must provide it. But the mandatory ones mean you must provide, yeah.
And what happens if you refuse?
If you refuse, you can be arrested and brought to the station, and then you'll be asked to give a specimen of blood or urine or breath at that point. People sometimes think, well, if I don't give a sample, they've got nothing to test. And if they've nothing to test, they can't prove that I had anything in my system. And that's true, but if you fail or refuse to give a sample, you're going off the road for 4 years, which is the outside maximum. The maximum you could be ever put off the road for in drink or drug driving and blood, urine or breath is 3. But if you refuse, you get 4. It's really punished if you refuse. So the idea you might avoid it by not giving a specimen is absolutely disastrous. You'll get more than the maximum for that. So on urine, it's 68 to 107 is 6 months, 108 to 135 is 1 year, 135 to 200 is 2 years, and anything above 200 is a 3-year disqualification. And again, same as blood, it's set in stone. You can't change it. You can't get less. Once you fall within the parameters, you will be given the disqualification that's applicable to those parameters. Not more, not less. It's just whatever that particular reading amounts to, that's what you get.
Can you break down, like in the simplest way, what's the story there with limits?
Yeah, well, that's a really powerful limit. What is the limit? It's different for blood, it's different for urine, and it's different for breath. Each one has a different limit. As to what it is, even the Medical Bureau of Road Safety won't tell you. And they analyze blood and urine samples all the time. They can't tell you because everyone is different. You're different to me, your height, weight, sex, whether you've slept, whether you've eaten in a while, whether you're taking medication. All these different factors all affect how your body will process alcohol. So on one day you could drink alcohol and you would be under the limit. The next day, if you're feeling a bit sick or you haven't eaten in a while, you drink the same amount of alcohol, you're over the limit. So it's impossible to give a scientific formula.